Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special series of showcases created just for the MTNA 2020 Virtual Conference. I'm Shanna Kirk, and I am an education technology consultant for Yamaha, and I am very much honored to welcome several very special guests and presenters for this series of showcases. So we'll have a few different showcases that are shorter than our normal hour-long showcase length. So we hope that makes them a little bit easier to navigate, watch whenever you want to. And we invite you to watch any of them that seem relevant to your teaching. Most of all, we want you to know that Yamaha is here to help teachers throughout this incredibly bizarre time in online teaching and navigating this new normal, and also anytime beyond. We're always here to help, and we're always so happy to see you. And we're happy to welcome you into our spaces, which is kind of strange. So anyway, enjoy, and we hope you all stay well. For this showcase, putting your Clavinova to work, we were thinking about all the times we hear from teachers out in the field who say they have Clavinovas, they've had Clavinovas for a long time, and they're just not sure they're getting the most out of them. Maybe they'd like to learn more about the style features or the sound features. So what better way than to ask a couple of really creative, brilliant teachers how they use their Clavinovas on a regular basis. So I've pulled together Frazer, who's a longtime Yamaha consultant, and many of you know her through her incredible work with the Clavinova Festival, as well as Leila Viss, who is the founder of the 88 Creative Keys Teacher Camp and her own site, leilaviss.com, which is so full of innovative, simple ideas and activities to help students with creative learning. You're going to get so much out of what each of them has to say. I hope you will enjoy. Please help me welcome first Frazer.
I'm Frazer. I'm an independent consultant for Yamaha, and I'm thrilled to be with you today. Kind of interesting doing it this way. There's a lot of great advantages. You didn't have to travel anyplace. I didn't have to travel anyplace. You can watch this presentation anytime you want to. And you also get to see what everybody's teaching studio looks like. So this is one area that I have set up in my house, working with a brand new Yamaha CVP 809. And I have another room as well with some other equipment set up. So since I am in my home, we are going to have maybe some unscheduled interruptions, such as a dog who loves to sing opera in the background. It's also very windy today, so if you hear things banging up against the windows, Mother Nature wants to be part of the presentation. So in these challenging times of teaching, we're all having to find new things to do and new ways to teach. And when you can't sit on the bench with a student and try to work with them with dynamics and shaping of sound and touch and those sort of things, it can be pretty frustrating. So one of the things that you might want to do is to record the duet part. Even if you just set your phone up on the music desk of your piano and record the duet part in your voice memo and email it out to the student. Having something to play along with makes the music so much more interesting. It makes the student count, and it also makes the student move forward and not stop. I know a lot of times when you work on pieces, Ode to Joy is a great example. We get to the middle and the student says, oh, I need to start over. Well, in the real world of music, when you play with an orchestra or a choir and a band, you can't start over. You have to keep moving. So using these accompaniments, whether they're as simple as recording them on your device and emailing them to a student, or using something commercially prepared, is really important. Now, I say that it's important that you email the file to the student. The student needs to have this file or this background in their device. With the internet, there's a delay. It's a slight delay. Half a second, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. But if you're trying to play live with someone, it's impossible because you're out of time. They're hearing it, and then you're hearing them play back with it, and it just becomes a mess. If the student has it on their side and they're able to play, it's so much better. So that's Beasley. So most every piano method course has got an orchestrated accompaniment available with it. It's just a matter of finding where they are. Michelle Sisler at Keys to Imagination, T-O, imagination.com, has the rights to sell all of the orchestrated accompaniments to all of the different publishers. Now, there's some publishers that are actually just starting to record. Very exciting news that Piano Safari is working on theirs and has just finished book 1. So if you go to their website, you will be able to find those there. So that's very exciting news to see those coming from the Fishers. So Alfred, Hal Leonard, Bastian, Faber, you name it, it's available. Even exercises, things like Czerny exercises, Hanon exercises, Sham finger power, all of these things have accompaniments available, and they just make it that much more interesting. MIDI files are the files that a digital instrument can play. The instrument has to have the orchestral voices on board, the saxophones, the clarinets, the drums, and that kind of thing, to play those files back. With a MIDI file, we can slow it down as slow as 5 beats a minute. We can play it as fast as 500 beats a minute. Now, granted, a lot of students and a lot of teachers don't have the ability to play with MIDI files. Then what do? We use audio files. But we're going to take a look at MIDI files first. So Party Cat is one of my favorites that I've loved to show for a long, long time. It's 4 notes. If the kiddo can't stay with it, we might put on a metronome, which again we can slow down. But what makes it so much more interesting is that this is the orchestrated accompaniment for Party Cat, which was done by the great Philip Kevin. So here's a little bit of Party Cat. So playing with that might be just a little bit more interesting than a metronome. Now, if the student happens to have this book, which is the Hal Leonard All-in-One, up in the corner there's a little icon here that says Audio and MIDI Access Included. So if you open this, you probably have a lot of books that have this and aren't even aware of it. There is a code in here, an access code. And when you go onto the website listed and you put in this access code, you can download and access the orchestrated MIDI files or audio files at no extra charge. It also comes with its own player. So the student can just put this right into their device, pull up the song that they want to practice, they can slow it down, and then when you're listening back to it on your end, you're actually hearing them in time with the accompaniment. So take a look at that. That's got the access on it. One of my favorite things to use these orchestrated accompaniments for is 3/4 time. Students love to take 3/4 music and put it into 4/4. And so if I were to take this minuet that's in Alfred Premier, Alfred Piano Course 2A, it might sound, if the student doesn't count well, something like this. So if we were sitting on the bench next to the student, we might be tapping on the piano to try to get them to stay in time, might be tapping on their leg. What I would do with a student in this, 3 is a hard thing to feel. I might play it on my piano, on my end, and actually ask them to get up and to move with the music. You might notice that when you're teaching online that the students become to tend more restless, quicker. They need to change activities faster. This is a great off-bench activity to get them up and to get them to move. So anyway, I won't play the whole thing, but anyway, here's a little bit of the minuet. And again, this is going to keep me in 3/4. Here we go. Now you'll also notice that the orchestration highlights the articulation and the dynamics, and that's also the beauty of playing with these accompaniments. It fills in these songs, it makes them more rich, but it also makes them so much more musical. Again, and just about everything is available. Music Tree, Bastian, Alfred, Faber, Jennifer Eklund's Piano Pronto. I mean, I know I'm forgetting some. Hal Leonard. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And so this is a great time to get familiar with these types of backgrounds to use. Now, many of you have the the teaching CDs and have used the CDs. And I'll be doing a separate clinic in a little bit on a free app that's called Chord Tracker. And with our CDs, always the challenge has been to get them slow enough. Well, with Chord Tracker, we can actually get those CDs into Chord Tracker and then slow them down. Michelle Sisler, again from keys2imagination.com, has graciously agreed to put up a video that you can watch where I went through at a seminar some time ago and showed how to get those files into your computer and then from your computer into your iPad or whichever device you happen to be using. Now, I know a lot of you have newer computers that don't even have CDs and DVD drives. My new one doesn't either. I went to Best Buy and for $29, I bought a USB DVD CD. I can pop it right in and then I can load in all of my material that I need to into the computer to use. So in organizing Clavinova festivals and having fun with music and working with kids, one of the things that I have done is taken a lot of supplementary material and recorded supplementary material for these kids to play along. And I'm happy to tell you that those files are up on Keys to Imagination. Just go under MIDI files and type in my name and you can have them all for free. I have a cover, a picture of the cover. There's a little piece like that says, it'll tell you like performance hints, like don't start playing until after the introduction's over, or I'll tell you how long I held fermatas, those sort of things. But the files are up there in MIDI files so that if you have a Clavinova, they'll play on Clavinovas. And if you don't, they're MP3 files that you can load to your devices and use at no charge. So I'll play one for you. This is Cowboy World from Linda Liebeck Robinson. And in this particular piece, how I record these backgrounds is I don't put the piano parts in. So unlike the commercially prepared things for methods that have the piano parts in left hand and right hand, I don't put them in. They're just chord changes and harmony for the kids to play along with. Now, in this particular case, there's this great teacher duet part, and I did not want to let it go to waste. And so I asked Linda if I could please record it. And so what I did is I put on a whistle, and I recorded it up 2 octaves, I believe, than from what it's written. So my feeling is I want you to feel like the cowboy's riding on the range and he's whistling while he's out on the range. And just for effects, we have our saddle sitting here in the background. So hope you enjoy this. This is Cowboy World. So you might have also noticed that as I was playing that, the Clavinova was automatically changing sounds for me. That is also embedded in the MIDI file. So again, if you have a Clavinova, that will do that for you automatically. If you decide that you want these files without that, certainly contact me. I'd be happy to send them to you. In trying to figure out what pieces to use as supplementary material in recording these, it's challenging because there's so many amazing composers and so much amazing material. And so what I chose to do was I took the Federation book and I went through the different divisions of Federation and recorded quite a fair amount of songs out of the beginning divisions. my thought was that if these kiddos had prepared these pieces for Federation, it might be kind of fun to just have some fun with them and use different sounds and different backgrounds so that they could kind of get double duty, if you will, out of the piece. So take a look on the website. There's quite a few. What I really had a lot of time with was Halloween music. So there's a fair amount of Halloween music. During this time that I'm not traveling and I have this wonderful new instrument to work on, you can bet that I'm going to be working on some more and getting them to Michelle, so stand by, there'll be some more up there. And if you have any requests of particular things, you can either contact me, I'm at Lori, L-O-R-I, Frazer, F-R-A-Z-E-R, at comcast.net, or you can send a message to Michelle on Keys to Imagination and she can forward it on to me. So we'll see what we can do. Now, in this next part, I'm going to switch over from MIDI and we're going to go into using the iPad and how we can use that. This is Jennifer Lynn's Piano for Kids. And again, it has the icon on here where I can go on and I can download the accompaniments to play along with. And I have done that and I have put them into my iPad. And then I am opening them in a free app that's called Chord Tracker. Now, the main feature of Chord Tracker is that you can take any song that's in your iTunes library, and in less than 30 seconds, it will open up and give you the chord changes. So if you're working on a student on harmony and they want to play pop music, they can buy the song in iTunes, or now it's available for Android, so they can do it in Android Music also. And they buy the song, they open up the app, the song's automatically there, and in less than 30 seconds, you have an entire chord chart for anything. Now, even though it's audio, you can slow it down, you can speed it up, you can transpose it, fast forward, rewind. If I had this hooked up wirelessly to this Clavinova, which I can do, I can actually record myself playing over the top of anything in my iTunes library, or plug in a microphone and sing. And I promise you I won't do that. So what I've done is I've taken the file for the brand new free release of 2020, which has been around a while, from Frozen Let It Go. And again, our kids love this piece, but if they're just playing the piece, it's okay. But I'll tell you what, it's a whole lot more interesting when you put on the accompaniment. Now, I have a audio cable running out of the headphone jack into the auxiliary in of my Clavinova. Most digital pianos have that. It's AUX in. You may have to get an adapter for your audio cable to use 1/4 inch. It just depends on the instrument that you have. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a listen to Let It Go using this nice little background. Here we go. So your students are going to feel a lot more fulfilled playing along with something like that. And again, and it can just be part of the lesson, just part of the activity, just in keeping in mind with changing and trying to do interesting things, maybe a little bit different things than you haven't done before. So I wish you all the best in your teaching. Stay healthy, stay well. Until we actually see each other in person, I look forward to it. If you need anything, please let me know. On behalf of Yamaha, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Lori. Our next guest is the brilliant Leila Viss, and she doesn't really need any more introductions, so please help me welcome Leila.
Hey, Leila Viss here. Little did we know that COVID-19 would lock us into online lessons exclusively. So here I am at Mission Control. And I've got my Clavinova. Now I have 3 pianos, so I have plenty of choices of which piano I'd like to choose for online lessons, but I've chosen my Clavinova CVP 505 for 3 different reasons. First of all, it's easy to move. I can move it around and I can get it just in the right angle so that students can see my hands from the camera that I have above. So number 1, it's nice and light. Number 2, it doesn't have a fall board, so it's not going to cast a shadow on the keys. And then number 3, I like to record teacher duets with this because I can't play with my students while they're playing on Zoom. So what I do is I play the accompaniment pattern, but first I push the record button. And at the same time, I'm also pushing a record button in an app called Tanara. And I record the accompaniment pattern, or I'm sorry, the accompaniment, the teacher accompaniment, and then I start the recording again and play it on the Clavinova, and I play the student part on top of that, and I also record that into the Tanara app. Now I send both of those files over to the students, and then they can play with me, and they can also hear what their part sounds like with me. So for those 3 reasons, the Clavinova has been so valuable for me as I move into complete online lessons. Now, BC, before COVID-19, I also liked using my Clavinova. And there are many reasons why I use it. Many of my students gravitate towards the Clavinova even before the acoustic piano. And there's really one reason, and it's because it's packed full of sounds. It's like a candy department store. So here's some ways that I like to take advantage of those sounds. So first of all, if students can choose sounds, then they want to try out their pieces. So they're going to play it again, and then they're going to play it again. Ooh, let's try another sound. Ooh, let's play it again. So here's some examples of what you could do. Perhaps they're working on Pachelbel's canon. So I might find a synth sound right here, or no, let's go to the choir pad. So I've got a pad called Nobleman, and I will play the bass line as they play the canon on the piano with all the parts. Great way to teach them what a canon is, that repeated bass line. And then I'll have them switch. I'll go play their piano part, and they can come sit here and play the canon part. Then another thing is if they're learning a Clementi sonatina, might as well change it up just a little bit. And this is called the Bright Pad Bell. Just kind of a fun way to celebrate that sonatina. Now, some may be working on a minuet, and then it's fun to use a guitar sound. And it's a great teaching moment because they may notice that that sounds a little bit lower than what it sounds like on the piano. And they may discover that, oh, they have to raise their hands up an octave in order to play it the way it matches on the piano. And then one more way to use those sounds and take advantage of those sounds is if someone's playing something from the Baroque period and you want them to realize how to play a detached eighth note. It's not quite staccato, but it's not quite legato either. It's detached. And so then I go to the harpsichord sound and I get this sound. And I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a little escape where when the key goes up, there's that little sound of the feather quill plucking the string. And that helps students feel the sound that they need to create for those eighth notes. So I'm playing that prelude. Now, one other thing that pianists tend to do is we tend to run over rests very easily. But as organists, which I am one of those, you always obey rests because you know what happens if you play it through a rest, you're going to hear it. On the piano, the sound decays. So off, off, hold, off. It's a great way to teach that kind of touch and holding down for that full value of a quarter note and then lifting for all of those rests. So those are fun ways to use the different sounds on the Clavinova. Now, one of the things that I really enjoy using and really value using as a pianist for a worship team is the ability to transpose anything. Now, here's what I like to do. Sometimes I will be given a chord chart that's in the key of G. But they'll want me to play it in a style, in a track that's in the key of F. But I want to play along with that track. So what I'll do is, right now I'm in the key of G, I'm going to transpose. Now I'm in the key of F, but I'm still going to play in the key of G, and then I can play along. Been very helpful for me, especially when I want to go rehearse with the band. I've already rehearsed with the track first. Now, those are some ways that I like to use the Clavinova with the sounds, all that kind of stuff. I also like to use it to help with students learning the grand staff. Now, the grand staff is a map, and it tells two things. It tells pitch and location. And I like to use this as just a reference for my students. And it's a little, I know it's a little off because the treble clef and the bass clef have been shifted over. I did that on purpose so that students can understand that the keyboard is facing this way, but the staff is really facing the opposite way. So this can sometimes connect with students if they're having a hard time with it. Yeah, I give all of my landmarks a specific name. So I've got middle C. Ooh, I better transpose so this doesn't throw you off who have perfect pitch. Middle C, treble G, face C, outer space G, and cloud C. And then I have middle C, bass clef F, cow C, basement F, and deep blue C. So I want them to get to know those landmarks very, very well. If they know all of those, then it's going to be easier for them to learn the notes that are around them, and they can jump off from them and read intervals, okay? And so what I want to show you, I'm going to share my screen with you, and you're going to see a drill that I like to use with my students. This is not teaching them to read intervallically. This is teaching them how to read or recognize pitches. And I like to gamify it by breaking it up into levels. So the very first level is just to play the pitches that are written there. And you can take as long as you want to find them all. But I love to do dual teaching, 2-for-1 teaching. So maybe some of your students have taken theory tests where they need to know the instruments of the orchestra, right? And all the different categories. Well, now listen, I do not have a studio full of instruments, but the Clavinova has the sounds of them. So I've got pictures here. And if I wanted my students to focus on the brass section, I might go over and choose brass. Here we go. And find French horns. And now I've got the French horn. Yes. Now, we just have them play these pitches as slowly as they need to, just to make sure that they can practice finding the right one, right? It's outer space G. That is not treble G, because treble G is too close to the middle C. So once they play through those, finding them, taking their time, the next thing I would do is have them play the rhythm. I've got my drum right here. And then I would have them play the pitches in that rhythm while I drum along. So here's, let's try a little bit of it. And I might get a little bit slower just to make sure they can get it in time. Then the fun starts coming because you add in a dance sound. I got modern hip hop. Now it's maybe a little fast at first, so let's slow it down to 110. And you know what? Let's find a new brass instrument. Let's go back to brass and maybe find soft trombones. Okay, so I'm going to read that first line again once with the rhythm section with the soft trombones. Ready, go. Didn't sound too much much different than the French ones, but you get the idea. You can do all kinds of different things. Now, here's one more level. Can you up the tempo? So we could do 115, but let's live on the wild side and try 120. So 1, 2, ready, go. Now that's just on the first line alone. And as you can tell, I've got a couple of different lines, and I fade supervision. I give less and less help. I give less and less cues as to what pitch they are. And that really can help students define in their head where pitches are on the grand staff and connect them to the pitches to the keyboard, all with the help of the Clavinova. So I hope that some of these ideas may be helpful for you in your online lesson adventure. All the best to you. Take care and take courage.
Thanks again to our incredibly brilliant and creative guests, Frazer and Leila Viss. Don't forget to download the handouts and check out our other Yamaha showcases at Virtual MTNA 2020. For even more resources for online teaching and creative teaching in general, you can check out the YamahaEducatorSuite.com, where we're putting all of our resources, not just for piano teachers, but all teachers in one place. I hope you stay well, and please don't hesitate to reach out if Yamaha can help you in any way during this time and beyond. Bye, everybody.